little bit of mystery, a little bit of spookiness recording here on Halloween night, the episode 172 of The Next Best Bet. The spookiness is it's Halloween. The mystery is we can't even really talk about baseball, Brett, because you may be a win away from having a future cash, or we may be seeing the World Series head back to Houston.
Yeah, don't want to touch too much on that, Higgins, because we want our podcast to be listenable on Monday morning when it comes out. So we'll just jump into how horrible we were in the last week. And
Yes, I was trying to turn a tough eye from last week because neither of us performed that well.
yeah, it wasn't good, but hey, props to you, Higgins. You had Michigan State as a home dog, and
I
what
did.
a second half comeback for Michigan State, and what I'm going to call the college football game of the year, Higgins. That was a fun one in East Lansing.
The Big Ten gave me my only wins of last episode, really, with Penn State playing a close one against Ohio State. Like I said, I didn't think they were going to come out with the win, but I thought they were going to be respectable against them. But Michigan State at home against the Wolverines, oof. Harbaugh's collar letting out a little steam at the end there. I had to be a little bit angry after watching that. But Brett, you at least did escape with a win yourself. I mean, the Rams, they almost gave it up in that fourth quarter, though, to the Texans.
That was not a pretty fourth quarter. That went from an easy win, Higgins, to a little bit of a nail biter there. But betting it early comes through because on Sunday in New Jersey, Higgins, that line closed at 17. So a big movement from the time we made our picks to the time game kicked off.
That may be the best pick of the line movement since we had early picks before Sunday's game. The worst pick was my Cowboys pick that I picked on Wednesday night at Cowboys -2.5. Thursday, I believe, when Dak was officially listed as out, that line quickly went to Minnesota -2.5, a 5-point swing, and all of my analysis just kind of went out the window with that one, Brett. I kind of overlooked Dak's injury, but it turned out that it was a lot worse than it seemed. And now they're playing on Sunday night, down 10-3 at halftime, as you and I are talking. But Brett, let's jump into our Beginner's Boulevard. We're going to talk about a high roller. This is a guy that plays high stakes, whether it's the casino, whether it's sports betting. This person's betting big. Don't confuse this person with a handicapper or a tout necessarily, though, because they're not necessarily a good bettor. They just bet with a lot of money, right, Brett?
Yeah, I guess this would be what, like Dave Portnoy, right? Like just a big high roller, not necessarily someone that you're following because, hey, this guy hits 70% of his bets or 60% of his bets. More so, you're following for entertainment purposes or just because they're betting big and you want to follow the whales, Higgins.
The name I had in mind was a Mattress Mac, actually,
Mattress
especially
Mac. Yeah, no,
especially with the World
that's a
Series right
really good
now.
one.
He's a homer, bets only on Houston, really, but he bets high stakes, bets big money, and he just cashed a big one with that NLCS. It's interesting looking at how it's going with his World Series bet he has, but that was my high roller that I was
Mattress Mac is definitely a better high roller, Higgins. I like that
thinking.
one.
Let's jump into some football, though, Brett, because episode 172 begins a fantastic week where every single night we have some football, whether it's the NFL, whether it's college. We got football every single night this week, starting on Monday night football in the NFL, Giants versus the Chiefs, and this is an interesting game, Brett, because the line is 10.5, which I feel is kind of appropriate, the Chiefs being favored at home in this one by 10.5. But Kansas City is not really the team that we expected so far this year. There's been a little bit of news and attention outside of the football field with Tyrann Mathieu taking shots at his own fan base a little bit and then have to apologize. I don't know how much Kansas City's actually looking at the Giants or how much they might be overlooking a game like this. Maybe you could call it a homer pick if you want, but I'm going to back the Giants plus 10.5 in this one. They're supposed to be getting some receivers back, Saquon back in action. This offense might look a lot different than we've seen in the past few weeks, and we've seen a Kansas City defense that has really struggled a lot this season, has not really been that impressive against many offenses. So who knows what those weapons that haven't really been on tape enough to be studied by this defense, who knows what that Giants offense might be able to do if they're all healthy and on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we know Galladay's out. We know Saquon's out. Hopefully, Tony can play for you, Higgins. That would be a big get. Shepard should be there, so that'll be good. Pettis has looked good. Devontae Booker's looked okay. So, Giants will be okay. I think 10.5 is the side I would be on as well, Higgins, because Kansas City has been so up and down, hot and cold, as you would say. Defense can't stop anyone, so I expect the Giants to be able to score a little bit. Although playing an Arrowhead primetime game, no easy task either, Higgins.
No, it's not an easy task. No one's going to imagine that it is. It all depends on how cold and windy it's going to be, though. I mean, it could be a windy, potentially wet game, and Patrick Mahomes might not be able to have a good handle to throw that ball, or this could be an air raid game. You never know with a Midwest game like that. It all depends on the size and direction of those wind gusts. But, Brett, let's talk about some college football, because you were good to point out as we were putting together this rundown that we got some Tuesday MACtion, baby, right?
I love MACtion, Higgins. It is my favorite thing in the world. Tuesday night football, Wednesday night football. Just give me college football all the time, Higgins, and I will be a happy camper. There's one game I'm really logged in on. Miami takes on Ohio. Ohio 1-6 on the year. This was not expected to be a 1-6 team, Higgins. Their only win coming against Akron, who might be the worst team in the MAC. But, Higgins, this is a rivalry game. Ohio's look significantly better in conference, losing on average by 7 points or less. So, Higgins, in a rivalry game on your home field, give me Ohio plus the 7.5 points. Miami, again, the better team this year, 4-4 record. Won some MAC games. Ohio's lost MAC games close. I'm thinking they lose a close one here in a rivalry game, Higgins.
When it's a rivalry game, I'm a big fan of taking the underdog if those lines are set at being greater than a single score. So I have nothing to argue with what you just said there. But I found a different spot that I like on this game, Brett, and that's with the over-under that's sitting at 52.5. You might think that I like this over because a lot of times I like the over for bringing up the total points. But I'm actually taking the under in this game, and that's because Miami of Ohio, they've only hit their over 3 times if it was at 52.5 points. 5 games for Ohio would have actually hit the over, but that's mainly because Ohio's been losing and it's the other team that's helped carry that burden. I think that if you are right, and this is going to be a potentially close game, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. And so that's why I'm taking under 52.5 because I could see this being a 7 score game. 7 touchdowns, maybe being around that 49 mark with maybe a field goal instead of a touchdown for one of these teams. But I don't really see either of these teams getting above like 35 points at all, really.
Yeah, that's fair, Higgins. The other games on Tuesday, Ball State at Akron. Ball State, 19.5 point favorites on the road. And Eastern Michigan travels to Toledo. Toledo's 8.5 point home favorites. Higgins, as we get closer to Tuesday, I may find myself on Toledo. Be on one dog, one favorite. We'll see how it plays out, though. I'm unsure about that one, but Toledo's a good team, a lot of talent, and usually pretty good in these early week matchups historically, so I may back them here, Higgins.
And then we also got some Wednesday games with Central Michigan at Western Michigan and Northern Illinois at Kent State. I'd be looking at that Northern Illinois Kent State potentially. The Huskies at 6-2 on the season, 4-0 in the MAC this year. They could potentially go to 5-0 against a Kent State team, though that's actually played pretty well within their own conference. I think that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. You pointed out undefeated in the MAC. I expect those Kent State fans to be pretty up for that one.
Absolutely. Let's jump into some Moneyline Magic, talk about a little bit more football here, Brett, and we're going to talk about a game that you didn't even really want to talk too much about last episode. You bet on it, but you didn't think it was even really worth talking about, but it's here at the Moneyline Magic, so how about you lead us off?
There we go, Higgins. My New York Jets upsetting the number one seed in the AFC. Who had that on their weekend card? I don't know. But Mike White throws for 400 yards, Higgins. And we got an upset in the Meadowlands that cost me, but I have not stopped smiling all afternoon, Higgins. The Jets had to come back in the fourth quarter in this one, and we got it done, Higgins. Look at us, baby.
I have two words for you, and that would be Mike White. A name that we only heard last week because everyone was asking, who is this guy, when he was announced to be the Jet starter for that week. No one knew who he was. He throws for 400 yards on the day, including 2 scoring drives in the final 5 minutes. And to cap it off, he catches the 2-point conversion at the end to get them up by 3, 34-31. There was still plenty of time on the clock left with this one, Brett, but the Jets were able to hold on for that win.
Yeah, they ran the Philly special there, Higgins. They call it something else, whatever. It's the Philly special. That's what everyone knows it as, right?
Yeah.
And, they convert Mike White. Hell of a first career start. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, Higgins, but if he goes 3-1, I think there's a real quarterback controversy brewing because this is the best the Jets offense has looked all year. There's no question about it. And, you can't keep talent off the field in the NFL. So we will see what happens with Mike White. Could just be beginner's luck. Maybe there was no film on him, right? He's had 3 years in the league to kind of develop and learn. But at the same time, Higgins, you don't want to keep a hot hand who's winning football games off the field. So Mike White has a quick turnaround next week, a Thursday night game against the Indianapolis Colts. So we will see what happens. The Colts have lost some tough games recently, Higgins. The Jets got to be feeling pretty good after this huge upset at home versus Cincinnati.
You said 3-1. I say 2-2. You leave this guy in. I mean, Zach Wilson, he is the guy you just drafted, but he went 1-4 to start the season. If a guy goes 2-2, the Jets, you got to keep him in at least a game or two longer. You got to ride that hot hand. I completely agree. Very interesting. We'll see what this short week brings for a Colts defense that's going to have quite the challenge in terms of one game film and some college film to look at for Mike White, and a Jets offense that they got to prepare quick, and we'll see how they refocus and reload. Absolutely. It'll be interesting. But Brett, before we hop into some hockey and some basketball, today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space, so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Jumping into some hockey now, Brett. It has been a very interesting season to start, I think. We have a game that may be a preview of a later on playoff series that we might get. I mean, that's how the history has shown us recently with the Capitals and the Lightning facing off on Monday. And I love it when these two teams face off. Everyone typically focuses on the offense and the firepower that both of these two teams can provide. The over-under is currently sitting at 6. I'm going to be taking that under again, though. I'm going with my second under of the episode here. Under 6 at -120. We got Vanacek and Samsonov for the Capitals, Vasilevsky and Elliott all four of these goalies performing rather well so far to start the season. I imagine it'll be Vasilevsky in the net for the Lightning in this one to face off against the talented Caps team. And Vasilevsky doesn't let in a lot of goals. And then you look at the Caps, both of their goalies, they're averaging less than 2.5 goals a game as well. So I think this game's going to be maybe a 2-1, 3-1 type of affair, but it's not going to be a 6-goal, 7-goal game.
All right, Higgins. Yeah, Tampa Bay's dealing with some injuries as well. I believe Kucherov's out like 8 to 10 weeks, so that's a big loss for Tampa Bay. But Washington still has all their firepower. I could see this one truly going either way, so I'm staying away. But you're right, Higgins. In terms of marquee matchup on a Monday night, there's no doubt about it. Capitals Lightning is the game to watch.
I mean, if you're gonna try to challenge Monday Night Football with another game you should be watching, hockey's making a decent argument for it by throwing together a Caps Lightning. I don't know. I'll still be watching football, but I got a few screens, so maybe I'll have both of these games on at the same time. There's another hockey game on Monday, though, that I'm also looking at, Brett, and I'm going to be fading the Chicago Blackhawks for a lot of this season. There's a lot of turmoil that's going on over there. It's a winless team. They're 0-7-2. Can't even get a win in overtime right now. So I'm just going to be fading this team that can't seem to get a win. I'm going to take the Senators on the road. They're slight dogs at plus 110. And considering the favored team doesn't have a win, I like my chances. Ottawa kind of surprising people so far. They're 3-4 on the season. Maybe they get back up to a 500 record with a win here.
Higgins, I don't want to come against you because I'm not betting on this game, right? But I would say advance with some caution because I don't think Chicago is going to go defeated on the year. They are going to have a win or two sprinkled in. And it seems like a home game against Ottawa would be one of those I have circled, if I was Chicago. So again, don't want to be fading you. I'm rooting for you specifically because I want you to beat the book. That's our goal here, Higgins. The goal is to always beat the book, and I want my buddy to win. But I'd be nervous about that bet, to be quite honest.
I get the hesitation. I get the nervousness there, but I'm going to fade this Blackhawks team until they prove me wrong, at least. You're right. I don't expect them to go completely defeated on the season, but it's kind of a prove me wrong scenario when I've seen a team that's nearly played 10 games to start their season, still struggling to get a win. I'm hopping on that bandwagon, fading them until they prove me wrong. But Brett, let's talk about some basketball because we've had some teams that have surprised us early on. We've had some teams that have already been proving us that they're going to build on what they were doing last year, right?
Yeah, definitely some teams that have looked good. Charlotte is one of those teams that look good. They actually, Higgins, won on Sunday night against Portland. Both these teams will have a back-to-back on Monday. But I am going to be fading the Hornets, the team that came out on top 125-113 on Sunday night. They faced the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland's played better than expected, at least in my mind, Higgins. Colin Sexton can score with anyone. They play a little bit odd. They're very big, which is like not the norm in this current NBA. It's usually a lot of shooting. Evan Mobley, the rookies, look pretty good. So I think Cleveland is going to cover the 4.5 spread here in New Jersey, Higgins. A 2-possession game. I see this on the second night of a back-to-back for this Hornets team. Maybe being a 1-possession game coming down to the stretch. Maybe Charlotte starts a little slow. And I can possibly get them, with plus points at some point during the game. Maybe middle that, Higgins, or at least get one win there. So I think pregame, Cleveland's the side to be on because the first half for Charlotte could be ugly. Now, if I know anything about the NBA, Higgins, the first half is almost meaningless, and it's all about what you do in the second half. But pregame, 4.5 points, that's too big for me. So Cleveland facing Charlotte on a back-to-back plus 4.5 is where I'm going to be.
All right, I don't know how much I agree with that pick necessarily. I've been riding with the Hornets a little bit to start the season so far. I like what I've been seeing from them. LaMelo seems to be building off of his rookie year. I like Bridges, and so I don't know them going and bringing Cleveland into Charlotte. It's going to be an interesting game. I'd probably take the favorites in that one though, but I'm not on that game. The game that I'm going to be on is Denver's traveling to Memphis. They're on a road streak right now. A road streak. I just stole your word from the other episode, Brett. It's a road trip. Denver is on a road trip to Memphis, and Memphis. Uh, Denver's on a road trip to Memphis, and Denver just surprised and upset the books when they were in Minnesota. I'm not entirely sure why they are being named these slight dogs on the road here. I really like the Nuggets this year. I think that they're going to be good once they get fully healthy again. But until they face off against teams that potentially have a big man that can face off against Jokic, I don't really see the Memphis Grizzlies being one of those teams right now. So I'm going to be taking Denver plus 2.5 in Oregon because I can't take them on the money line right now. There's no money line on Sunday night, so I'm taking them on the spread.
Yeah, I think Denver's a good team, Higgins. They'll figure it out. Michael Porter Jr. not playing very well. Jokic banged up a little bit last week. We'll see how his knee is feeling. But John Morant looks like the early MVP favorite, averaging north of 30 points, Higgins. So I would say that's probably why Memphis is the favorite, because they've got the guy that looks like the MVP thus far. But I've got no read on that game. So yeah, you want to take Denver as dogs? I absolutely think that is well within reason there, Higgins.
Hey, and I love watching Ja play. Watching him drive that lane and explode up for those dunks is amazing, but it's going to be harder to do facing off against a guy like Nikola Jokic down in the paint. I mean, Ja Morant can outjump anybody. He can jump over a lot of people, but I think Jokic is going to potentially try to get some stuffs there. That's my
Yeah.
hope, at least.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye, see how his knee is feeling. One more game before we get out of here. Thunder take on the Clippers, Higgins. Clippers up and down. They've played okay. Paul George has played pretty well. The rest of the Clippers kind of all over the place. Thunder have lost, but they've lost close. They actually beat the Lakers and Russell Westbrook a few nights ago. I almost called it the other night, but I corrected myself. Good job, Brett. But the Thunder traveled to La La Land to face the Clippers, Higgins. I have it at plus 11 here in New Jersey. I'm hopping on that on Sunday night because I don't want that line to move at all. I'm very happy with the 11 points. And honestly, I bet the Clippers lose this by like 7 or 8, so I have a few points of cushion there. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, elite player in this league. Josh Giddey is my Rookie of the Year pick, Higgins. He's
Your
played
boy.
really well. Yep, he's played really well, to be honest. Lou Dort, tough defender. He's going to give Paul George some trouble. Although Paul George, elite player in this league, Higgins. I don't, when I say trouble, I just mean slightly off night. Maybe won't be as efficient as he is other nights. So, look, I just think Oklahoma City loses this by less than double digits. Whether that's 8 points, 9 points, that's still within the 11, Higgins. So, I just think that spread is too big, considering how the Thunder have played competitive basketball.
11 points is a very large margin, you're right. Brett, and you mentioned your boy Josh Giddey. He's been making some headlines on and off the court. He went viral the other night because there was a photo of him in an empty basketball stadium talking to two girls courtside. Apparently, basically, he just, before he went back to the locker room, was talking with these two girls after the game. And 10, 15 minutes later, basically everyone's cleared out. He's just still talking to them. Didn't go back to the locker room yet. Your boy's doing well, adjusting to the NBA life, I think.
I guess so, Higgins. I didn't even catch that, so good for Josh Giddey.
Let's jump into some Levy Lock pick of the pod action. We both lost the last episode, Brett. I believe you had the honors the episode before, so you have the honors again.
Oh, well, I was hoping you would take them so we could get back on our winning ways, but that's okay, Higgins. I will lead off here. Thunder plus 11. I just talked about it, Higgins. Spread's a little too big. Now you're telling me Josh Giddey's got game off the court as well. So I look for him to be feeling good in Los Angeles. No, but seriously, I think Oklahoma City is just playing competitive, playing teams tougher than expected. They're not winning, which is why these spreads are staying so big. They're actually losing by kind of large margins, but they're losing by 8 points. So 11's just too many points for me, Higgins. I think the Thunder can keep it within that. Also, a little bit of a revenge game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander spent his rookie year with the Clippers. They traded him away. A little bit of a revenge game here.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. My pick of the pod's going to be that Miami of Ohio versus Ohio under 52.5. I said a few stats before. Miami of Ohio's only covered or only would have covered a 52.5 point over under 3 of their games so far. 5 of Ohio's games would have been covered, but that's because they've been losing all year and their opponents have had to do the heavy lifting. If you take the averaged points against that these two teams have allowed all season long, it's only 0.9 points over 52.5. So I probably got a little too analytical with you there, threw out a lot of numbers, but I like the under in this scenario. It's a rivalry game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring over in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game as well, Higgins. So hopefully it's close and low scoring. That's fine with me.
Absolutely. We hinted at some other picks that we'll have between now and the next episode. Make sure to follow us on social media at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. World Series Game 5. It is still ongoing as you and I are recording this and wrapping up this recording, Brett. And you know what? It's tied up at 5-5 in the 5th inning. I'm not going to do what I did last episode and ask you who you think is going to win, because I know where your money stands. Make sure to follow us on social media, though, because we'll let them know what's going on. Because if there is a Game 6, we'll have some picks, right, Brett?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about Game 6. So, yeah, I think that's very fair, Higgins, but we have no idea what will happen.
Absolutely. This has been episode 172 of The Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again on Thursday.